Yes, guys, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another live stream. And Chelsea have just beaten AC Milan 3-0 at Stamford Bridge in the Champions League. A massive, massive win for the Blues tonight, considering we'd only taken 1 point from our previous 2 games. This was pretty much must win almost in order to make sure that we progressed to the last 16 of the Champions League. And to be perfectly honest, it was really quite easy tonight. I wasn't expecting it to be this easy at all. Milan just didn't turn up. Other than the first sort of 5-10 minutes where they had loads of possession, seemed quite comfortable on the ball. Literally didn't create anything. One shot on target they had, and that was right at the end of the first half. Other than that, they created absolutely nothing. They defended poorly, but take nothing away from us. For a change, we actually looked good. We looked sharp going forward. We created opportunities, and we actually stuck the ball in the back of the net 3 times. I think it would be fair to say, for me, that this was our best performance since we beat Juventus 4-0 at Stamford Bridge last November. I think it's been that long since we actually played this well. George, thanks for coming on as always, mate. Appreciated. What are your thoughts on the game? I don't think either of us thought, or any Chelsea fans thought, it would be this easy tonight. It was really quite convincing and pretty comfortable.
Yeah, when you were looking at the table to start with before the 8 o'clock kickoff, you think, this is a must-win game for Chelsea, particularly with the return fixture in reverse at the San Siro coming in our double header. You associate Italian sides being very hard to break down, very hard to beat. They also knew coming into tonight that, a win and they're pretty much guaranteed qualification and 6 points above Chelsea, which would be a huge step. But Chelsea notoriously at Stamford Bridge on a big occasion tend to deliver, and I was surprised how easy it was. And as you alluded to, the first 10 minutes or so where they looked quite comfortable, and Chelsea again slow start to the game. But after the first 10 minutes, I mean, just for the stature, I mean, they did the whole build up, showing the history of that football club in this competition, and that is a dark moment for them. I know they're still very, very favourable in the group, but it was not a night to remember for them at all. Very poor.
Yeah, they were poor. They defended really badly, which you don't associate with Italian sides at all. I thought we defended pretty well. Didn't actually really have an awful lot of defending to do. There's a couple of moments where Rafael Leao, who I think is a phenomenal player, and one that Chelsea need to sign up as soon as possible. He had a few moments where he looked decent on the ball, got into a good position at the end of the first half, played it across the box, and Kepa makes a good save. And then the follow-up, I think it's Benacer. It might not be Benacer. I can't remember the guy's name, but he just puts it straight over. But that was their only opportunity. And what sort of impressed you most tonight with the Blues? I mean, we reverted back to that back five. Are you surprised at all to see that? I felt, having seen the 4 of the weekend against Palace, I've always felt that a big European game at Stamford Bridge, Potter went 5 at the back in the Salzburg game. He was probably always going to revert back to that, bit more tried and tested. It's a system that he knows. It's a system that these players know, having used it under Thomas Tuchel. And I suppose you want those big names, that big name experience. You want the experience for the big games. Probably why Koulibaly came back in as well. I mean, any surprises there for you, mate?
No, I think we both discussed it, didn't we? A few days ago, we wanted to see Koulibaly. We were unsure as to why he wasn't favoured by the manager and Tuchel as well for some of the games in his last few moments. I think in games like this, you have to go with the tried and tested, regardless of the time that Potter's had to work with the team. You've got to go with something that the team are familiar with, and the back five just suited well. And I think this will be, and I think on paper and form-wise, this is probably going to be our best back line if we can get all players singing off the same hymn sheet. I mean, Fofana's come in for an extortionate fee. You'd hope that he'd be a first-team regular. Silva is obviously undroppable, and then you've got Koulibaly, who we still believe is the complete package and a kind of hybrid between the two, Silva and Fofana. So there weren't too many surprises, but I think we questioned the Mount one, didn't we, a little bit about him starting after his recent performances. But again, just when you think he doesn't deserve a start, he did quite well tonight, I thought. Better performance anyway than what he usually does. But no, for me, the system was good. And yeah, just so surprised at how poor Milan were, the loose balls and just making it easy for Chelsea. But, Chelsea still had to get the job done, but they did make it very easy for us.
Yeah, they did make it easy for us. But as you say, you've still got to put the ball in the back of the net. You've still got to perform. And I felt actually tonight, there wasn't really anyone on the pitch that stood out to me as poor. You touched on Mason Mount. I think we were kind of a little bit surprised that he started, given the fact that realistically, I know football's not all about goal and assists. There's more to it than just numbers. But Mount's performances this season have been poor. I feel he's not really contributed at all in any of the games, or very minimally. I think he could count himself very lucky to have actually started this game. Obviously, Kai Havertz dropped to the bench, but obviously we'll discuss Mount a bit more in the player ratings. But just briefly, mate, I thought he one of his better performances this season. I know it's quite a low bar, but Potter put his faith in him, and I think Mount actually offered something in return to him. He had a great chance in the opening minutes where actually the pass from Aubameyang is a little bit behind him, which makes him take it first time, and it's a good save from the Milan keeper. Obviously, a great finish for the second, for the offside, for a goal that was obviously ruled out offside. But I thought it was a bit more influential. This is a bit more like the Mason Mount we're kind of used to seeing.
Yeah, and we do give him a hard time, but because we know the capabilities he has, and we say, maybe he's been poor, but he's been poor from his standards. I think from a Chelsea perspective, we've had a lot of players who have been way below Mount's level, even at Mount's absolute lowest. There's still been players like we've seen before, Lukaku, Ziyech, Pulisic, who have been far worse. But because we know what Mount can do, we tend to give him a hard time. But there must be a reason and a trend why managers, regardless of who it is, Thomas Tuchel, now Graham Potter, of why Mount always plays these so-called big games. We touched on it before last season about work rate. Yes, that's an expectation, but you'd be surprised. I mean, just look at Leao today, fantastic on the ball, but there were lots of comments in commentary about just the lack of drive when he hasn't got the ball and Milan are out of possession, that he's just walking around.
I mean, work rate off the ball was poor,
Yeah, and Mount's one of those players who, regardless, poor performance or a good performance, he does give it 110%.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to hold my hands up on this one and say that Mount. I like Mason Mount, but I just like at a point in this season where I felt he probably should have been benched for this game. I don't think I don't think it's an unpopular opinion to have had, and I'm happy to say that the manager got it right in the end. Mount actually played pretty well tonight. But I mean, kind of moving on to the goals, George, you sort of quite uncharacteristic the first goal in terms of the fact that the Milan defending from the set, there's about 3 corners that came in from Chile and about 2 on the spin. Thiago Silva were just free in the box, and obviously a couple of headers were saved. And you would have thought at the 3rd or 4th time of asking, Milan would have thought, do you know what? We need to pick one of these. We need to pick this guy up. And yet it comes in again. It's another header. It's not Silva's free in the box, a bit of a scramble, and then Fofana tucks it home for his first goal for Chelsea, first goal in the Champions League as well, having only made his debut in the Zagreb game. So it's great for him. Are you just surprised at how poor that Milan defending was? Because you don't associate that with Italian sides at all, and you would have. I just couldn't believe how they just didn't learn from those mistakes. And it's quite a simple finish for Fofana in the end as well, and great to see him get off the mark.
Well, football's a beautiful game, but sometimes it's so simplistic, and you've just got to do the basics. And it looked like they had a zonal setup for it, but you can't allow certainly one of the most dangerous players in the air as well to have 2 free cracks at a header. What I will say is, and I actually noted it down in the game for discussion tonight, which was the deliveries were so much better tonight.
Mate, how many times have we seen over the years at Chelsea when we've been going and watching on the TV? It doesn't beat the first fucking man.
And look what happens when we do. We cause problems. We get goals. Two balls into the box tonight. All right, Reece James's one is not really. It's a cross, but it's not a set piece. But just football simple. Just put it into an area. You don't know what happens. And there's a whole commotion in the box. It's a bit of a Sunday League-ish type of goal, but if you put it in the right areas and cause havoc, you can get results. And I do wonder whether that's something that Graham Potter's addressed, or whether we've just seen a night where it's just all come good on the plays. But from every set piece I saw, whether it was a dead ball situation or just crosses, they were definitely better tonight.
We did have opportunities. I mean, just on Fofana, obviously great that he's got off the mark. How big a blow is that injury? Obviously, we don't fully know what the issue is yet. I'm sure more will come out tomorrow. I don't think we'll get anything after the game tonight. But with the packed schedule coming up, that's a bit of a problem. You would fully expect he's going to miss Wolves at the weekend, and he could well miss the return leg as well. I mean, how big a blow could this be? Because he's obviously our big money signing at the back. we do really need him. I thought Chalobah did pretty well when he replaced him. Admittedly, he didn't have an awful lot to do, but he didn't really put a foot wrong. But with the fixtures coming thick and fast, this could be a big blow.
Yeah, and again, you talk about, go back to basics of football. You want to keep, I think one of the things that I've always said is that you've got to try and keep the same backline if you can, particularly when you get a clean sheet. I know he didn't see out the whole game, obviously, so he was part of that clean sheet, so was Chalobah, but it's a huge blow for him, considering getting his first goal, buzzing, you're finally playing in the system and you're starting and yet, pick up a knock. How serious it is, we don't know. I mean, the physio seemed to be quite happy that he could go back on and try and continue and see it off. So maybe if it was that major, he would have been stopped straight away, but we don't know. And, footballers, some of them are made of glass these days. So you could be looking at a couple of weeks. I don't know. It could just be an impact injury with a couple of days, but you would suspect that Wolves will be a bit of a push now.
Yeah, I think it would be as well. And then Shano in the chat saying it's a good point. I mean, George, how important is it? First clean sheet since the opening day of the season with a 1-0 win away at Everton. That's massive as well. I don't think the importance of that should be underestimated. We very much, certainly under Thomas Tuchel, built the foundations on being defensively solid and winning games by the odd goal here and there. But first and foremost, making sure we don't concede. And that's very much really gone out the window pretty much the whole of this season. We've conceded an uncharacteristic amount of goals. I know Milan were poor tonight, but that's got to be a massive confidence boost and something really important. And I guess one of the big positives that Potter will take out of the game is that we've not conceded tonight for the first time, as Shano said, since the start of the season, which is quite mad, really, when you consider the caliber of defenders we've actually got at the club.
Yeah, but it was always going to take time with we brought in a lot of players that we want to start in the back line. Cucurella obviously not playing tonight, but he was another player that needs to fit in, and it 100% instills confidence. You've got to start by keeping clean sheets, and we talk about not associating AC Milan with being so chaotic at the back. Well, Chelsea you certainly associate with being very solid at the back, and for a long time now we never know what to expect from a Chelsea back line. Yes, the changes in personnel haven't helped, changing from back four to back five, and finally getting a clean sheet and against decent opposition is really important. And again, same for Kepa, he'll get more confidence. So it's great. I think it's a really positive stepping stone. And then to obviously get the more than the classic one goal that we were talking about during the game that we said we need to finish it off is another great positive. So all in all, obviously it's slightly tarnished now because of the Fofana injury. So you think another change at the back for the weekend game against Wolves, and you think, is that going to affect the outcome of conceding? But we'll see.
Potter's said on BT Sport after the game just now that it was Fofana's going for a scan on the injury. He's going for a scan tomorrow. And Potter described it as the only disappointment of the evening, which I think is a fair reflection. But the fact he's going for a scan is a little bit. I know that could be precautionary, but it's never great when players are going for a scan. But I mean, the rest of the first half, mate, kind of not really too much happened. But I mean, what did you make of Rafael Leao? Because Chelsea are keen on Rafael Leao. He looked good. He's young, 23, 24 years of age. Looks very good on the ball. Caused Reece James a couple of issues on a few occasions. Almost set up a goal for Milan right at the end of the first half. I guess you could maybe call it a Stamford Bridge audition. It probably wasn't really, but what did you make of him? I know there wasn't an awful lot to go on, but he looks an impressive player.
Yeah, first frightening pace. First of all, I mean, if you're going to outrun James, that's impressive in itself. But great with the ball, and I think he could be even better in a team that dominates possession, like Chelsea do, and with better players around him. I think he could be a real asset to Chelsea, and kind of that link that we're missing when we break play up and we're trying to move forwards with decision making. Because I mean, he was carving through like knife like butter for some of those chances. My only question mark of him is, I know they were losing, and I know he's probably getting a bit frustrated, but again, the basics, work rate off the ball, so poor. Is that an attitude problem, or has he just had a night where he's just fed up? Because let's be honest, AC Milan, not getting a lot of the ball in a game like that, you are going to be frustrated. You see, you are going
to be annoyed.
So I do get it, but yeah, great play.
We'll come back to that. This has just been posted now. Fofana leaving the ground on crutches. Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, is it? If it's not one thing, it's another thing. I mean, we've not been too hard done by the injuries. Obviously, Kante is made of glass, as we know, but you do worry slightly with Fofana in terms of the fact, it's obviously can't be helped that he had a long-term injury with a broken leg, but you just hope this is not something like an ACL or meniscus or something in the knee, because, I mean, worst case scenario, this could be we'd be talking weeks rather than days. I think personally, if he's leaving on crutches, then that's not it's not the best sign, is it? I mean, we've got capable. I suppose we've got cover in the likes of Cucurella could obviously slot in at left centre back. We could shift Koulibaly to the right. Chalobah came in tonight for Fofana, so there are options there. But it's a big blow to lose one of your starting back line for what, by these pictures, looks like could be a reasonable period of time, which is really, really frustrating. But I mean, yeah, we'll have to wait and see for any more updates on that. But Fofana leaving the ground on crutches is not really what you want to be seeing after the game. And it's such a shame as well, because he actually played well tonight for the 35 minutes he was on. He got his first goal. He looked comfortable at the back. Yeah, it's a shame. But obviously, George, let's touch on the one opportunity AC Milan did have. It was great feat by Rafael Leao. I think Catelaire forces a save from Kepa, and then the rebound smashed over. I mean, that was the only chance really, but it's a bit of a let off there really for us, wasn't it? It would have been tragic to go in at the break at 1-1, considering how dominant we'd been in the half.
Wouldn't surprise you though.
No, it wouldn't.
Typical Chelsea, after the first 10 minutes, sluggish start as we have been most season, then dominating the play, which we tend to do most of the games this season. Get in front, like we have done most of the season, and then it would have been classic Chelsea this season to let in an equaliser and just kill the whole buzz of what would have been a very good half. But they missed their chance, and I think ultimately, regardless of that, I think we did enough. I think we would have been comfortable anyway. I think Milan were that poor tonight, but. Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be chances presenting themselves in games, but I think that's where, the cream rises to the top in terms of quality. We take those chances, and they didn't, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I think that's a bit. I mean, that's a worst case scenario. I mean, it's impossible to tell, but I mean, if that were to be the case, that would be a big issue, and I think you would see Chelsea accelerate in the transfer market and look to sign a defender. In January, if that were to be the case, I think the outcome of this injury will, I think, potentially decide whether Chelsea push for Gvardiol from Leipzig in January rather than the summer. Yeah, Reece James was phenomenal, Hakeem, and Mount was good tonight. I think that's fair to say. Mount was good tonight. Just read the second half though, mate. Much of the same, really. We get that second goal, and I can't quite believe I'm saying this. A Chelsea number 9 has scored for 2 games on the spin. What's going on? We're not used to it. We were perhaps a little bit sceptical on Aubameyang, but I felt this was a good performance from him tonight. Again, took his goal well against Crystal Palace. Really nice strike. And he's just one of those. He's just in the right place at the right time. He's not going to be a centre forward that gets involved in the build-up, drops deep, links play together. He's someone that if you put the balls into the right areas, he will be there in the box and put them away. And that was very much the case. I mean, do you think this is maybe what Chelsea need? Is just like a number 9 that just stays in the box and we just put the ball in the areas and he does the rest?
Yeah, so I was getting a little bit frustrated in the first half because I know, he hasn't got the legs of what he once had, and he's not that striker that's going to, burst with energy. But I was going to text you, and I had it in my phone, and I was like, I wonder if Chelsea would just be better without an out-and-out number 9 and just someone who's just a bit more pacey up front, who's not necessarily number 9, but just, I mean, we've had that with Timo Werner, it didn't work. But, and I was about to say he's had a fucking shit night, and then as soon as I was about to text that, in his slots. I mean, yeah, he did a lovely pass for Mount's offside goal, obviously.
Yeah.
Good link-up play, and I think after that, regardless of the goal, which is great, I think you've got to take the positive and just think how poor we've been in that position. And yet Aubameyang is just doing the things and the simple things you would expect from a centre forward, which is just be in the box. And, he had one chance tonight and he took it. And that's all you can ask from a number 9. What else do you want? And, you were there. So as part, he's shown that he's not just a person who's like a Van Nistelrooy kind of tap-in person. He can create something from nothing, and the quality from those types of finishes as well on the swivel. So who knows? I mean, 2-2, who would have thought it? But
2-2. It was.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to like realize that from a number 9, you just want goals. Yeah. All right, yeah, it's nice to have link up play and whatnot, but at the end of the day, you don't want your centre forward. Like, this is one of my maybe like criticisms of Harry Kane. I know he's a fantastic player. Don't stop coming into midfield to try and get the ball. Like, you're not gonna do. That's not where you're gonna do your work. Your work is in the box. Stay in the box. And like, I think it's. I mean, not saying that striking is an easy position to play, but keep yourself in the box. The ball will come to you, and just be ready when it's there. And I don't care if Aubameyang has 3 touches in a game. If he scores, that's all that matters at the end of the day. You just want your centre forward to score. So I think we need to kind of move our expectations away from expecting a centre forward to be like an all-round player. You only have to look at Erling Haaland as an example. Doesn't really get involved in build-up play, but he is always in the box, and his anticipation is second to none. He's always there, right place, right time, and his finishing is exceptional. That's what you want from a centre forward. Right place, right time, and just the touches, put it in the net. Those are the touches that matter. I don't care if he's 100 touches outside the box and doesn't score any goals. That's not what you want. So I think with Aubameyang, it's a little bit different. We haven't really had a poacher forward really like him, I don't think. You know, Drogba wasn't really a poacher, neither was Diego Costa, not really Torres or Morata. That's just kind of I would say for a while, the first time we've kind of had an out-and-out sort of real penalty box striker. I know he's a bit more than that, or he has been in his career, but I think now at the stage that he's in, he's pretty much a penalty box striker. And I think that could work for us. We'll have to see. But Oba gets the goal. It's 2-0, and it's game done and dusted. But Reece James on his 100th start, I mean, very, very similar to the goal he scored against Juventus, actually, last November in the 4-0 in the group stage. He was phenomenal tonight. I think he got an assist, and obviously that great striker as well. I mean, for a fullback, his finishing is quite something, isn't it?
He's just amazing to watch. The power, the balance, the link-up play, the confidence to just drive and go for goal. I'm fed up with this comparison with Trent now. I just think he's miles above it.
He's clear. I mean, I think it's also important to sorry, mate, just to cut you off for a sec. It's also important to remember that instead of constantly comparing, I think Reece James is better, and I think it's fair to say he is better. But instead of comparing, I think football fans just need to appreciate that we've got 2 unbelievable right backs in this country. Like, whether you think who's better or not, all right, that's kind of it's a debate to have. And I think Reece James is clearly better overall. But let's appreciate how good we've got it for England, that we've got 2 of the best right backs in world football.
Right. You could argue that Kyle Walker makes it 3.
Yeah, and Kyle Walker as well, yeah.
It's a great problem to have, but it's, slight divert with the England squad. I mean, for Southgate, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. If he plays James and he has an awful game, everyone says should play Trent. If Trent has a poor game, everyone says play James. So I don't envy his position and his team selection, but that's coming slightly off topic. But yeah, you're right. It's the same with the Ronaldo Messi situation. It's the same with tennis with Roger and Rafa. We constantly, you have favourites and you have, you're a fan of one, but ultimately we're so blessed to have the quality of right backs in this country, playing for the top 3 clubs, you could argue, and just delivering on a consistent basis. And that's so tough. It used to be, I mean, you can, I'm sure you've listened to many of Gary Neville's things with the overlap and stuff. It used to be a position where it was your last case scenario if you were shit at football, basically.
Yeah.
You'd be not good enough to be a centre half, not good enough to play midfield, play out on the wing.
Well, just push you back. He always used to be like, if you weren't any good at a winger, you just drop back to fullback.
Now you'd have to say it's one of the most demanding positions.
Wing back is the toughest position to play on the pitch in terms of physicality. You're up and down that side all game.
And you're a winger. You've got to create as well as defend.
Yeah. It's almost strange how, like, for the modern day fullback, wingback, defending's almost secondary now. If you can't finish or contribute to attacking phases of play, then you're almost surplus to requirements.
So you're mad. Can you imagine 20 years ago asking Neville to score 10, 8 goals a season,
Yeah,
assist
but
every game? Football's changed a lot.
It's how the game's evolved
Yeah,
at the end of the day. But I mean, Reece James was
great
phenomenal
performance.
tonight. Great performance. And 3-0 is the job's done. Obviously, we get a few players off, rest them. Conor Gallagher gets a few bit of a run around, etc. But I mean, it was simple. I mean, how impressed were you with Graham Potter tonight, George? I know you're not the biggest fan of his, or you think it's a little bit of an underwhelming appointment. But what did you make of him tonight? I think he got everything pretty much spot on. And to be honest, it didn't look like it was his second Champions League game. It looks more like it was Pioli's second Champions League game with the way the game panned out. I thought this will be really big for his confidence as well.
No, you summed it up well. It's probably just the fact of the name, and it's quite an underwhelming. He's not a world beater, which Chelsea are so used to, not just with players but with managers as well. But we have to accept the reality of the situation. He definitely deserves the opportunities. Absolutely no question about that. And you don't get where you are and where he's got to without being a bright, intelligent coach who's got ideas. The big question mark is, the expectations. It's all well and good getting Brighton into he did do a great job at Brighton, but he could also lose 5-6 games in a row and not many people would expect anything. Can't do that at Chelsea. And his philosophies and ideologies of how to play the game, can he do that and transfer it to a team who need to get results? I mean, it's all well good playing pretty football, but if we don't win tonight, it's not good, is it?
No.
So it's a learning curve, but it's one that I'm looking forward to because it's unknown to me. And the thing I like most about it, and it's a bit patriotic and it's a bit old school, but I do like the fact that he is English and he's managing a top club.
Yeah, I think it's quite refreshing as well. It takes a bit of getting used to, and I think you summed it up perfectly in terms of the fact that there's this kind of stigma around British managers particularly, but if it's not sort of a fancy name or someone from Europe, that A, they're not a good manager, and B, it's not exciting. It's at the end of the day, Graham Potter's here on merit. He's built his career from the bottom, going out to Sweden. Going to Swansea, doing a great job there, doing a great job with Brighton, and he's got his opportunity at a big time at Chelsea, and he fully deserves it. And I think it's also refreshing to see Chelsea doing something that under Roman this would never have happened. Never ever would we have gone for a managerial appointment. So I think it's quite refreshing to see us going in a different direction as well, and kind of to see what happens. I mean, if he was called Graham Potterino or Potterdino or something, you'd be people would be loving it. But it's just it's not a kind of a sexy name. It's like as he said in a press conference before, surname Potter's not attractive. It's even worse when your first name's Graham. And he's he's aware that it's not a big name. But I think this is an exciting job. I am excited by what could happen here. It's going to take time, but I mean, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he does. But I think the response from the weekend was good. We've put back-to-back victories together now. It's now 3 wins, I think, 2 wins on the spin now in a space of a few days, which is big as well. But I mean, yeah, tonight was obviously quite straightforward. But I don't know. I just think it's exciting. I mean, you see Potter switch between formations in the games as well. Do you like that, George, from a team, from a manager, that you've got kind of your core system, say the back 5, but you can switch to a 4 in defence, or you can switch to a 3 in the midfield. It all kind of interchangeable in the game. And it's something that Potter did a lot of Brighton. You'd see his Brighton team start with in one formation, but then they kind of switch between 2 or 3 different systems during the game. Is that something you like?
Oh, I'll tell you what, I nearly stood up and clapped more than I did for the goals of the fact that we changed formations and he's pragmatic. The second he actually makes substitutions, which was a huge flaw in Thomas Tuchel. As much
too long
would react when things are going to shit and then change it, or just for time wasting purposes. I love it. I love to see it from Potter. He actually uses substitutions. He's clever about his substitutions, not necessarily bothered about the timings, but sensible. I mean, the game was done, take them off, but give others a chance, and give them time, not just 1 minute, give them 15. Love that. And I like the fact that if he doesn't see something working, he's not going to stick it out and wait. He knows you've got 90 minutes to produce of work that you've been working on in the training ground for a week. And if it's not working, you haven't got time to say, well, let's give it 10 more minutes. Just change it. It. And that's what I like about him. So, I think he's been pretty faultless, to be honest with you, because the problems that we're still having are from right from the beginning of the season. So,
I don't think people realize how big a job this actually is. You go, oh, it's Chelsea. What a fantastic set of players. We're in problems. Like there's no mistake about it. We're in a big transition. The win at the weekend against Palace, that was the first time we've won 2 Premier League games in a row since March. Like that's things have not been good. And I think this is going to take time. It's going to the more wins, and as I said, after the Palace game and just in general for Potter's first few games in charge, first months, etc., the performances probably won't be that great. But it's all about just getting the points on the board, getting the results, and then the performances may well come with those results. But I think it was promising. I agree with you. It's nice to see him use the bench and actually give them plenty of time to sort of make an impact. I mean, I don't think there's anything more humiliating or taking the piss in an injury time sub, like for literal time wasting purposes. Like you go on for like 30 seconds. It's like, I mean, seriously. I was going to get to a couple of things in the chat very briefly. If Fofana's out for a long time, if we stick to a back three, who plays right centre back? I think Chalobah, or the other option is Koulibaly to the right and he plays Cucurella on the left of a 3. That's also an option there. I mean, George, would you be tempted to stick Chalobah in? Or
I think Chalobah deserves another chance, and on the basis of coming on tonight, did a good job as well. I know it, but I'd go Chalobah, for that one.
Yeah, and I also agree with this one. I mentioned as well, Chalobah or Koulibaly centre back. There's options there, but I mean, let's hope the Fofana thing isn't too bad. Mate, let's get into these player ratings then. Guys, before we get into the ratings, plenty of you tuning in tonight, which is great to see. Please do smash the likes on the stream. Let's get those likes up. Nowhere near enough likes at the moment. And please do subscribe to the channel as well. We're heading towards 2K subscribers. We're getting there slowly, but let's speed that process up. So please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, team. And please do also get involved in the chat with your thoughts on the player ratings as well. George Kepa in goal again tonight. Celebrated his birthday at the weekend. First clean sheet since the opening day of the season. That'll be a big boost to him as well. Really only had one thing to do tonight, and he did it well. So I think a fairly successful night for Kepa in the sticks. I'd probably give him a 7. And do you think now that Potter's kind of decided in his mind that Kepa is the number 1? Because Mendy was fit to play tonight and he was on the bench.
Yeah, he was asked this a lot in his pre-match press conference, wasn't he, about the keepers and it can't be good to keep switching, and it's been something that we've done since they've both been here, really. But I think this is quite telling that it was a big game tonight, must win, and he's chosen Kepa. And again, such a great professional since he's been back in the fold. He's just done his job, and again, I think there's no reason why he can't keep his number 1 spot. But I think it's pretty clear that Potter has chosen him as the number 1 going forward.
Yeah, I mean, and what did you make of him tonight? Very little to do.
Not a lot.
Made the important save when required to do so. I think it's probably fair to give him a 7 tonight.
7. I'm happy with 7.
I'll give him a 7. Let's move on then. Back 3. I mean, Fofana only played 35 minutes. He did score a goal. We've already talked about him. We just got to hope this is not a big injury, because 1, we massively need him. And 2, it'd be such a shame for the kids. He's already had a massive layoff for the broken leg. If this is something serious and another long layoff, it's really tough for him. It really is. Hopefully, it's going to be good news or not bad news, basically. What would you give Fofana for his 35 minutes? I suppose we should probably give him something. I thought it was pretty decent. Got a goal. Probably a 7.5, I'd say, for that 35 minutes.
I thought he did well. I think the only mistake I could find was when he tried to carry the ball out and got caught. But you want defenders to take some sort of risks at times. Then that's what you expect, and he made it up with a goal anyway. So obviously, I echo what you say. Just really hope that he's okay.
I mean, and Chalobah, I don't think he would have been expecting to play tonight, mate. Really not played many minutes. Really hasn't played many minutes at all. He's literally only played the game against Leicester at the Bridge. I'm pleased to see him get an opportunity, because I thought he had a really good season last season, and it's just been tricky for him to get minutes, which is a shame. Delighted to see him play. What did you make of him tonight? Again, not an awful lot to do, but thought this would be really big for his confidence. To
Yeah.
come on, play against Milan, play a good hour or so, not really do anything wrong. I was quite impressed with him, and I do really like him as well. You a fan of his?
Yeah, there was a moment where they panned to him warming up before Fofana even got injured, and I had a moment where I felt a bit sorry for him because he did have some excellent games for Chelsea last year. I think is it the FA Cup final? FA Cup
Yeah,
final,
both
I thought he
domestic
was
cup
great in
finals.
those finals.
He was exceptional.
Yeah, he has a mistake and he's got things to learn, but so do all the defenders apart from Silva, you'd argue. And this is his chance to take that position, depending on the situation for Fofana. So, despite it not being great for Fofana, it could work well for Chalobah. And I don't want him to become another Tomori, put it that way, where we let him go and he ends up being, a very good defender. So I thought he did very well. I thought he did very well.
I'd give him a. I think we should give him a 7, mate. I thought it was decent tonight.
Fair.
Let's give him a 7. Moving into the middle, mate. We say this every week, but
run out of words, don't you?
I don't even know what to say about this guy anymore. He's actually a joke. It's actually a joke. I mean, it is mad, mate. One thing I would say is, before we get into his performance very quickly, is it a slight concern how reliant we are on a 38-year-old at the back?
I was thinking exactly the same, mate. I was watching him again, and when the game came to an end, I thought, we are in serious trouble when he decides to pack up. I still think without him there are so many errors in that back line individually, and he just gels it all together. And obviously, I've made the most ridiculous comment saying I didn't rate him. That'll haunt me forever.
That was embarrassing, mate.
Yeah, but look, we live and we learn.
We live and we learn. We hold our hands up when we get things wrong.
he's my favourite Chelsea player,
mate. You've got his name on the back of a shirt, haven't you?
I do, mate. I do, and it takes a lot for me to put it on the back. I've only had JT and a few others, so I run out of words to say. I mean, even when Fofana made that mistake, that challenge that he timed was just exceptional. I don't know what to say about the bloke. It's just ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
But we do rely on him too much. You're right.
I think we do. I mean, I think a 9's fair for him tonight. I thought he was outstanding. Yeah. Really, really good. And it is going to be a worry when we no longer see him in a Chelsea shirt. It's going to be a problem. It really is. But let's not worry about that just yet. But I think there is an over-reliance, and he's not going to be able to play every game in this period of games in October. So it's going to be interesting to see when Potter chooses to rotate him out. Maybe this weekend against Wolves or not. But the problem is, because, as I said, because we've got such reliance on him, you almost don't want to take him out. But we are going to have to at some point. But moving on to Koulibaly then. First start under Graham Potter, probably bought in for experience, bought in for the fact that he's played AC Milan many times before, knows what he's up against. What did you make of his first performance under Potter? First appearance in a Chelsea shirt since Zagreb, I think, when we lost 1-0. How did you think he did?
I thought that was probably his most complete performance in a Chelsea shirt, even though it's very tough to come in. It's probably one of the hardest positions to come in when you haven't played for a while at centre-back, because the spotlight's on you and making mistakes. But they didn't have much going on the left-hand side. I know Leao was obviously on their right-hand side. I know Leao was obviously on the left, and he's going to be the focal point. But they didn't have Chilwell and Koulibaly didn't have much to deal with. And I thought his ball retention was a bit better in his decision-making, because that's been questionable about just giving away the ball a bit cheaply. But I thought that was actually one of his most solid performances in the Chelsea shirt. There was nothing erratic. Certainly didn't go into challenges so much as he did in the early part of the season, where he was obviously got sent off. So, listen, for a task like that in a must-win game to come in for his first match in a while and perform like that is, good signs.
I think a 7.5 is fair. I think he was decent. Moving on to Reece James, I think this will probably be the highest rating of the night. This guy, he was phenomenal tonight again. Great finish, assists, getting up and down that flank. I think he's going to be he should be the next Chelsea captain for me. And the fact that he didn't cost a single penny either is just, it's absolute madness. The guy is well over £100 million football player. It's outrageous. I mean, how impressed were you with him tonight? And again, it just goes to show, like we said, we've got an over-reliance on Silva. If anything were to happen to Reece James, we are fucked on that right-hand side.
Yeah, I
We
think
are.
you could apart from maybe City, you could make a case for any football team if they have someone as good as James. If you get injured, you've got problems. But certainly, I mean, the way he celebrated kissing the badge, I mean, you can tell he's just a Chelsea boy, and he could be the next John Terry in terms of his longevity at the club. We really hope so. I agree with your statement. Future skipper if he's stays long enough, 100%. We've got a great footballer on our hands here. And we just got to squeeze every ounce of this man and let him be the next Mr. Chelsea, because he is so influential in our success going forward, and you're not going to find anyone better than him.
No, you're not. And again, it's going to be interesting to see how his minutes get managed in this schedule running up to the World Cup, because I'm sure he could play every game, but it wouldn't be wise to start him in every single one of these games we've got coming up. So it'd be interesting to see how kind of Potter uses him. But yeah, we are so reliant on him. We really are. I mean, I thought tonight he was exemplary. I mean, do you think perfect 10 or a 9.5?
Have we ever given a 10? Have we ever given a 10?
Yeah, I think we have given. I don't know if we've given a 10. Mate, do you know what? Let's dish out a 10. I think we have to.
It was pretty perfect. I don't think he did anything wrong.
I don't think there was anything wrong.
Did he get a booking?
Maybe, I don't know. Guys in the chat, let us know if you think a 10 is fair or not. And also, guys, keep smashing those likes and subscribe to the channel as well. We'd really appreciate it. Almost 50 of us in here right now, so please get that done, people. Joe, mate, I'm delighted for Ben Chilwell tonight. It was a tricky time for him against Palace. Eze, Zaha, etc. caused him a few problems. It was his first full 90 minutes back since the ACL injury on the weekend. Gets another start. It's big faith from the manager. I thought he was really good tonight. And I'm really pleased with him. How pleased are you for Chile tonight as well? Because it's been difficult for him.
Yeah, and I think he's still a long way off of the Chilwell that we saw, darting in the 1-on-1 and getting that late goal in the Champions League last season, and the performance against City in the final. Like we're still a long way away from that. But you could see still a tiny bit tentative and a bit, a few loose balls, and particularly with his running. But you summed it well. It's more him getting his first 90 minutes, again playing in a highly competitive game of football. Delighted, and again, it's nights like this that you just wish or just think, what if we had these two fully fit last season? And probably have Thomas Tuchel still here, perhaps. Who knows?
You just don't know,
because they are so influential in how we play, and when they're both, in sync, and we're dominating those areas, we are very difficult to break down. And I'm delighted for him. And again,
I'm really pleased with him. I mean, what do you think tonight, George? 7.5? I'll probably go 7. I think
I'd go 7. I think there's room for improvement, but.
There's quite a lot of 7s here, but it's big. Do you know what, mate? Someone who we haven't actually even mentioned today, we're going to come on to next.
Brilliant.
I thought Ruben was outstanding tonight. Honestly, excellent. Like a really top performance from him, and playing in that kind of in a double pivot number 6 alongside Kovacic. And I think I want to give some bit of credit to Thomas Tuchel here, because he's used Ruben a lot in that position. I think he's been really good for Loftus-Cheek and helping develop his game. He didn't look out of place at all tonight on the big stage against AC Milan, playing in that double pivot in the middle of the park. He looks so comfortable. I do love Ruben. Like he's so physical, but for someone of his size, he's so athletic and he's so graceful on the ball. I mean, I thought it was exceptional tonight.
I think this could be
one of his best games in a Chelsea shirt.
Yeah, he's had worse games and he scored goals in those games. The retention of the ball and winning it back and just starting to play again, driving the ball. He was excellent tonight. This is the performance we've been screaming for Loftus-Cheek to perform in. Big game, must win against, no mugs, AC Milan. I mean, they didn't play well tonight, but credit where credit's due. I've kept banging on about we miss Kante, and he's so influential and he's so essential, but Loftus-Cheek tonight, he's showing that the future is bright at Chelsea Football Club. If he can consistently, that's the biggest question mark, isn't it? Can he do that on a weekly basis? Not necessarily perform to that standard, because that was outstanding tonight, but I think he's 8.5. No, I thought it was 9. I thought he was really good tonight.
He was
Don't think he put a foot wrong.
He was really good tonight. I mean, it's mad though, because we weren't not too long ago. We were having a conversation about should Chelsea really sell him? You know, had that disastrous low spell at Fulham where they got relegated, and he wasn't even starting for Fulham in a relegated side. And you know, it's credit to him as well. He's come back, he's put his head down, he's worked really hard, he's been given opportunities, and he's not always taken all of them, but he's made the most of the majority of the times that he's on the pitch, and he's actually become a really key player for Chelsea now. He's really big for this squad, and it almost makes you think like. And that sounds mad. I know we miss Kante, but you almost don't really think about it now that Ruben's in there as well. You know, there's no Jorginho tonight either. But I think in Loftus-Cheek, he's actually established himself as a really important member of the squad and someone that we can't really do without at the moment either. I think at 8.5 is fair. Moving on to Mateo Kovacic then, George. I thought he was reasonably poor at the weekend. This was better from him tonight. What did you make of him? Again, he's someone that's going to, quite injury prone. His minutes are going to need to be managed in this period of playing every 3 days. But this was better from him tonight.
Yeah, I think, again, he perhaps does some of the dirty work that makes Loftus-Cheek's performance slightly better. I think if Loftus-Cheek's playing with Jorginho tonight, you probably don't get as high a rating for Loftus-Cheek. So you've got to give credit to, and we've been singing Kovacic's praises for ages of how good he is, but it's like you said, it's that managing those minutes. We know he's probably, if anyone's made of glass, it's him. He does go in for those 50-50s, and I think as a result, he gets injured a lot. So, but he's very, very key to our success as well, because we're so, like you said, mate, we don't really have someone in the midfield that we can hang our hat on. It's an area that needs investment going forward to just give it some energy. But yeah, I thought he wasn't great. It's not his best performance, but he probably does a lot of the dirty work that you probably don't see that make other players around him better.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, the only thing I would say is
7. I don't know, 6.5.
Yeah, let's go 6.5. I mean, it seems a bit harsh, but let's go with it. 6.5. I think it's one of those. Like for me, though, one thing I would like to see from him is just improve the output slightly. I'm not saying chip in with buddy 10 goals or whatever, but for someone that plays in the middle of the park, it's meant to be progressive. One of our better forward midfielders going forward. He doesn't score any goals. It doesn't really contribute with any goals or any assists, really. I'm not saying that's what he's in the team for, but you'd like perhaps just a little bit more of a contribution in the attacking third, maybe. But yeah, look, can't complain. I thought the two in the middle of the park were exceptional tonight. George, moving on to Mason Mount, we touched on him earlier. Probably his best performance of the season for me. Kind of starting on that. I've got him on the right hand side. He might have actually started on the left, but anyway, it doesn't really matter. What did you make of him tonight? We touched on it earlier. He was decent. Forced a good save with that first time shot from Aubameyang's pass. And he kind of looked a bit more influential, involved a bit more, making some decent passes, etc. This was better tonight.
Definitely better. Seems to be coming back to himself and, showing his character on the pitch. And we discussed it earlier. There's a reason why managers pick him, regardless of how the team's playing, regardless of who the manager is. He gets on the team sheet for some reason, and there must be a reason for that. And we probably saw it tonight. Work rate's always probably the best on the pitch. Won't get much better. And his output needs to be better. Obviously, we know that, and we know the heights that Mount can reach. But that I agree. I think that was probably one of his, if not the best performance he's had this season. I don't know. It's hard on the ratings because you know what, a great Mount, is so much better than what we saw tonight, but it's the best that we've seen from Mount so far. So
I'd say it was 6.5 or a 7. I think it's 6.5.
Yeah, it's hard, but again, we rate him so highly that we know there's more. So yeah, it's harsh. A 7 sounds more. I'm not happy with 7.
I might slightly revise this Chilwell one. I think a 6.5 was probably a bit more befitting of Chile tonight.
Okay, fair.
Right, let's move on to Raheem Sterling. Again, got an assist for Reece James. Obviously a simple pass, but you still got to play it. Me and you were both speaking during the game, mate. A little bit frustrated with Sterling tonight. And it's something he has done throughout his career. He just holds on to the ball for far too long. He did it a lot of the weekend against Palace, and again tonight. Several opportunities where he could have released the ball earlier, and he's just holding on for it for too long. I mean, that's kind of Sterling's done that throughout his career. It's frustrating, isn't it? And there was a couple of evidences of that tonight where, we could have had a couple of maybe a goal or two more, or opportunity to get a shot on target had he just released it sooner.
Yeah, we're gonna have to expect more of that, by the way, because that is just how Sterling plays. He will divide opinion. He does hold on. He does, almost, for the old use of the term, hog the ball. But it's also, we can't be too negative on something that we wanted. We wanted someone to drive at defenders and take the ball on and take players one-on-one. And you've got to have some sort of selfishness to be able to do that. So we can't criticize a player for something that we desperately wanted and we knew what we were getting. But I agree, when his output is, on top form, we've seen him play at the highest level for City. That's what we want at Chelsea. But we've bought a slightly different player than that. But again, football doesn't have to be complicated. Just square that ball. It doesn't have to be, regardless how many touches he's made, the ball's in front of him, just square it. Sometimes it just really frustrates me. But I mean, we can't be too critical because he's been Chelsea's only real creative output in these dark periods so far.
Yeah, I mean, he has carried the attack this season, but I think he was. I'd probably give him a 6.5 or maybe a 6 to be honest. Actually,
I don't think he was as good as Chile or something tonight. Yeah.
Just wasn't really happening tonight. To round it out, mate, Aubameyang, guess his goal. Other than that, not too much, but that's what you want from your striker. Just put the ball in the net. One opportunity, one goal. Same as the weekend. If he can carry on like this, great. I mean, all-round performance, perhaps not the best, but when he was called upon, he did exactly what he needed to do.
Yeah, and you compared him earlier to Erling Haaland. Some people might be like, "What?" I'm backing you up. I'm saying, do you know what? You look at Haaland's performances. He's not outrageously in the link-up play or doing anything particularly neat and tidy. He's just in the right place, and he causes havoc in the right areas. And it's a good comparison because ultimately the goal doesn't matter how well someone plays outside the box. You want them to score goals if they're your number 9. Haaland's doing that for fun, and Aubameyang 2 in 2. Not amazing performance, and he's not setting the world alight. He's not, showing us anything new at Stamford Bridge, but he's getting goals, and that's what we've been. That's what we wanted Lukaku to do. That's what we need. Just that end product. Mate, if someone plays a nice ball into the box.
A number 9 scoring goals.
Yeah, so to be honest, again, difficult to rate because I think all-round games are a bit of a nonsense for forwards.
I think a 6, I think, is fair. Actually, I think it's a bit better than Sterling.
I think 7.
Let's give him a 7. I think that was fair. It was one. I actually think we could maybe give Mount a 7.5. Then I think he was. Let's do it. About one player I wanted to quickly touch on before we round out, and it's giving me sort of Saul vibes. What is going on with Dennis Zakaria? We signed him on deadline day. We haven't even seen him. Where is he? Like he's unused sub against Zagreb. He's been unused sub in every game so far. He didn't even make the bench against Crystal Palace, even though he travelled because I saw him get off the team bus. What's going on with this one, mate? Because this is weird. This is kind of striking me as like a signing that Tuchel didn't want, and the board kind of stepped in last minute and thought, "Fuck, we need a midfield player. Let's just get someone," because no one seems to want this guy.
No, but then you look at the names that you've just got on that sheet there, even the subs, and could you really make a case for Zakaria? Gallagher's on form, so he deserves to get
why couldn't he have come on for Kovacic instead? The game's done. Why couldn't he get any minutes then? It seems weird that he's getting no minutes with 5 subs and a game done and dusted.
Yeah, I know. I do get your point. It is a strange one. I mean, the change of manager obviously doesn't help, but you could argue that there's other. Aubameyang wasn't Graham Potter's choice either, and he's playing. So, don't know, difficult one. But yeah, it has definitely got Saul vibes. But at least we saw Saul.
Yeah, we only seen this guy. I mean, I'm not really sure what's going on. And he is fit because he played for Switzerland in the international break. So it's a strange one. It's an odd one, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. I'm sure we will see him at some
League
point.
Cup, probably.
League Cup, I'd imagine, but maybe he just wasn't like fully fit, or he's just, we're not rushing him in, because remember Saul's first 2 appearances for the club, he was subbed at half time. It was that bad, so maybe they're just kind of taking a bit more time with Zakaria. But it is definitely a strange one. I just want to very quickly round out with how pleasing is it to see that kind of Chelsea ended the game with what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It had 6 academy graduates on the pitch in Chalobah, James, Loftus-Cheek, Broja, Gallagher. That, and obviously with Tomori as well for AC Milan. How nice is that to finally see now? Because we've all these years, with Roman put all that money into the academy, we saw very few players come through. No one since JT, and now in a Champions League game against AC Milan, we've had 5 or 6 on the pitch at the same time, all contributing to the first team. It's great to see.
For the fans, it's excellent, and I don't honestly think we believed that it was possible to be a successful team with that many Chelsea academy players in it, because Chelsea under Abramovich so used to maybe having 1 or 2 in the squad that play those games that mean nothing, but still winning things by just bringing prime players in from Europe that are just ready to go and have proved it all. So to actually see a Chelsea team with so many academy graduates in the starting 11 and coming off the bench, Gallagher getting a last-minute winner at Selhurst Park, James, our best player, it's just wonderful to see finally the fruits of what has been a long, laborious task, but something that's paid off. And I think Chelsea has, and it tops it all off on the icing the cake, having a British manager in charge of it all as well. So
yeah,
just it's what the fans wanted. We want Chelsea homegrown talent. We've seen it before with players like Josh McEachran and the like, who we've been desperate to see.
Worked out.
Not worked, but it's finally working, and it shows that if you pour money into the academy and you give it time, results come.
Yeah, and it is great to see it. It's really nice, and it also saves you a fuckload of money as well, because because those guys would have probably cost a few quid. But yeah, guys, seems like a good place to round out. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Thanks for getting involved in the live chat as always. On your way out, please do smash the likes on the stream. Let's get those likes up. Still not anywhere near enough likes. You've done well, but we can do better. So on the way out, smash the likes, and we are on the road to 2K subscribers, as I mentioned before. So on your way out, if you're not subscribed and you're tuning in now, please do subscribe. We'd really appreciate all of your support. George, thanks for your time as always, mate. Guys, we will be back on Friday evening for a preview to the Wolves game at the weekend. Diego Costa returning to Stamford Bridge for the first time since his departure. But until then, guys, a great night under the lights at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea 3, AC Milan 0, and we'll catch you again in a couple of days' time up the Chelsea.